Um, okay, Adriana, welcome to our class. It's about creativity and innovation. And this is a group of bachelor degree in business school in El Tech. And the idea today is to talk a little bit with you about creativity, innovation, and your experience in Intel. Thank you for sharing your ideas and your time with us.
My pleasure to be here with all of you. ¿Prefieren en español o en inglés? A mí me da igual.
Here the idea is in English for practicing English. It's part
Perfect.
of the... Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay, let me... Only to here. Okay, sorry. Okay, Adriana, our first question is, tell us a little bit about you, please, your background, experiences, and professional trajectory.
Sure. So I'm an engineer. I worked, I have like 23 years of experience, 18 of those at Intel. I started as a college graduate, as a manufacturing systems engineer, and then I continued moving to different positions, and I started up like 3 different organizations in the areas of technology, software, and hardware. So it took all the process from opening the team, all the hiring, training, and transferring the operations to Costa Rica, stabilizing, and then improving those. With the main profile were software engineers, electrical engineers, and computer engineers. So I did that. Then I decided to take a break from corporate life, and I became an executive coach for 5 years. And I did executive coaching for INCAE Business School. So for INCAE students, and also independently. And I also did seminars with workshops, leadership workshops with horses, which is something
Really?
pretty different, very cool, by the way.
Yeah.
So I did that for about 5 years, and then the opportunity to return to corporate life on this position that I'm holding now came available, and I was always, or I have been always passionate about innovation. So when they talked to me about this opening and that I could be a good match, it caught my attention, and I applied to the position, and I am now the innovation site manager for Intel Costa Rica, and I started last October. So I have been on the position for a few months. But before doing the coaching activity, I did a lot of the innovation work at Intel, kind of as a second job, because I was very passionate about it. So I am very glad now that I can do it as my day-to-day job. So
fantastic.
So that's a little bit about me, and I have a son. I'm married, and I like to read a lot. And I like to spend time with horses, and I like to run. I'm a runner.
I watched that when I was looking your profile. I watched your records, your performance in a website. So I imagine you're like a runner.
Yes, I love to run.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. And our second question, Adriana, is how do you manage your own personal innovation skills? How you try to improve that?
So I love to learn. That's one of the things that I liked a lot. So I always try to find interesting articles to read, and also I try to connect with people, and that helps me to learn as well. For instance, right now I am doing a benchmark about innovation with Israel within Intel, because Israel at Intel, it's very well respected because of their innovation track of record. So I try to connect with people to learn. And the other thing, which for me, I think has been the most relevant, it's kind of a mindset shift or a paradigm shift, in terms of failure, of what failure is, because I believe that failure and innovation, they are very connected. You need to be willing to try new things, to go beyond your comfort zone, and understand that failure will be part of it. So as long as you are able to don't take failure personally, I think that you are in a better path to go and do things that are beyond your comfort zone.
Yeah, excellent, and very important for university environment. This kind of words that you are sharing with us and about failure. Great. And now our third question is, now please share with us how Intel managed this topic, creativity, innovation, and all the stuff related with this domain.
Sure. I put together a few foils. Is it okay to share
yes,
those?
Yes, of course. Yes, please.
Okay. Oops. Let me know if.
Yep, perfect.
If you can see. Okie dokie. So
yes.
I will share a little bit first of what we have a kind of Intel as of now, our current context. So we have let me here. So we have our assembly and test factory. That's how Intel started in Costa Rica. That factory is sunsetted around 2014, I believe. From 20,000 to date, we have been delivering engineering services to the corporation. From 2005 to date, we have a global shared service focusing on human resources, finance, IT, mainly. Innovation as a focus area, purposefully driven, started around 2007 to date. We have a Costa Rica Design Center that started formally on 2014. And we have multiple, basically, business units from the corporation that are doing design from Costa Rica. So what we did as a journey was to shift towards the left. So it's not only the manufacturing piece, the assembly and test, but also going left to where we are designing things that then later on, years away, will be manufactured and become Intel products. So that's kind of what we do at the Design Center. And in 2020, which was something that made us feel really, really happy, was that the factory started up again in Costa Rica. So the factory that was closed in 2014, the corporation made the decision to start up the operation again. So that's kind of a little bit about the journey of the site. Right now we have around 3,320 team members, because that number, we are constantly hiring, so that number changes every day. And in addition to that, we have kind of an ecosystem of people supporting Intel that are not necessarily Intel employees. So that goes beyond those 3,320. So that's a little bit of what we do. And since we were going to talk about innovation, I believe that it was good to level set of what innovation it's about. So the best definition that I have found that it's very simple in my perspective is the introduction of something new or different, and very important, that provides greater value or benefit. If it's just something new, but nobody cares about it and nobody will benefit about it, then it cannot be considered innovation. You really need to think how it's going to add value and why it will be useful for someone. And then the other thing that for the journey, in our perspective, has been very useful it's to understand that there are like 3 types of innovation, and these definitions changes or the names depending on literature, but it's the incremental innovation. How can I do what I am doing right now more effectively? So, and in a product, a great way to say it, it's like your favorite phone, smartphone. Usually when a new release comes, you get new features and something, a better camera or something like that. And for me, this is very important because it helps us to change the paradigm that innovation, it's everybody's job. Independently of what I am doing, I can innovate and do what I am doing in a better way that adds greater value. Then we have evolutionary innovation that fundamentally transforms into something better. And an example there, it's the leap from the propeller engine to the jet engine. It really transformed how aviation, the capabilities there. And finally, we have the disruptive innovation that really, it's radical and transforms how we disrupt basically the status quo. And an example of that will be the internet and social media. We are doing things definitely completely different. I think that we could never imagine how things will be. I remember when I was at the university, this type of setting, it was something that we couldn't believe at that time. So then why is innovation important to Intel? And there's a lot of content at this foil that I won't go into the details, and this is available at our webpage. But fundamentally, innovation is embedded in our purpose, in our strategy, and in our values. We have a value that it's fearless innovation. So to disrupt the industry, we need to innovate. If we continue to deliver the same products now, then what will be in 10 years, nobody will buy them. So we really need to innovate to be relevant in the industry. And now I will share a little bit, how do we manage innovation at Intel site in Costa Rica? So this is a quote that I love from Forbes, and it's that the pace of change nowadays requires companies to manage innovation in a more deliberate fashion. And it should be clear to every employee what the company process is for testing ideas and taking them to scale. So for me, innovation, in one hand, you need to nurture creativity for those different ideas to evolve, to come alive, to be nurtured. But on the other hand, you need a framework, you need a process that it's repeatable and can help you to take those ideas into value. So you need to handle, to manage both things. And this is our structure. So we do have a structure to manage innovation. The structure, it's called the Site Innovation Working Group. And we report to the executive leadership team at the site. So for me, that's something really important, because you need sponsorship from leadership for your innovation efforts. That's definitely a key learning. Definitely innovation can come bottoms up, but if there's no support in the leadership team, it will be very hard to push forward. And we have 3 strategic vectors in our efforts. One is culture, because basically we want to embed innovation as part of our DNA. So we want it to be very, very, to live innovation in our day-to-day. So that's one of the things. It helps us that innovation, fearless innovation, is one of the values of the company. So there's a clear connection, but we still need to continue developing that. The other pillar, it's the projects pillar. And basically what we are pursuing there is to elevate our footprint, our innovation footprint, and increase the value that we add to the corporation through innovation. As I mentioned a little bit ago, Israel at Intel, it's very well respected and recognized for their innovation. So we would like to be recognized by our innovation without question. We are not there yet. And the last pillar is ecosystem. And that's how we partner with ecosystem actors. It could be academia, government, other industries, to increase the value we can add and identify strategic initiatives to partner with. So that's high level how we are managing the innovation. And here I break it down to the next level of detail. So another thing that it's kind of very useful is to have a clear strategy and accountability. So as part of our strategic planning initiatives, innovation, it's reflected on those strategies at Intel Costa Rica. So that's very useful because it makes it clear that it's a priority and that there are people accountable to make it happen and that there will be resources allocated to make it happen. So our strategy goes across those three pillars that I mentioned. And for instance, in the one about the projects, we have a framework in place to identify ideas, prioritize ideas. And for those innovation ideas prioritized, taking them, I will show a foil later on, taking them through the process from planning all the way to implementation. And we partner with finance to understand what's the forecasted value that we are gonna deliver. And then once it's implemented, we measure it again to understand if we are really perceiving that value that we initially forecasted. So we have a list of projects, we manage those, we have committees to select the ideas, and we have all that framework in place, including idea management tool and things like that. From a culture perspective, we have initiatives going on, for instance, a communication plan where we share information about innovation and also success stories for people to understand that this is really happening and that they can be part of the movement, to put it like that. We deliver trainings and we are fine-tuning our idea management tool. So meaning if I am an employee at Intel Costa Rica and I have an idea, there's a tool that I can enter my idea and the process will get started. So that's that tool, we are fine-tuning it. And about the ecosystem, basically we have, for example, a couple of projects that we are working with ecosystem. One is, the name of the project is Pacientes con Cáncer de Mama. And we are working in a collaboration with Roche and with Caja Costarricense del Seguro Social to develop an app that will facilitate the tracking of the patients throughout the process, which is something that was identified as a limiter. So there's not necessarily that we will sell more Intel products because of that, but it's aligned with corporate social responsibility initiatives. And then we have another project that it's in flight called LEIDA, and we are doing a research with a hospital in the US, Cleveland Clinic Research Hospital. So we are doing some interesting things with them. And in the bottom of the foil there, you can see things that are critical. As I mentioned, staff sponsorship and management support, clear goals. We need to know where we are shooting for, not only in the areas that we are working on innovation, but when we will innovate, what's relevant for the business. So if I work in a specific department, what are the goals of that department? What are the key challenges that department has? So we can focus our innovation on those areas. We need to have processes clearly defined and how we prioritize ideas. We need to create and identify innovation advocates in the company, the different teams. That are those persons that will help us to continue moving the culture and the communication to keep the effort alive. If there are any questions, you can pause me at any time as you wish, and let me know how I am doing with the time, if I need to speed up a little bit or not.
Okay, thank you.
This is a little bit kind of, and this is very industry oriented, so it's not that I am sharing something that I came up with, but kind of how the innovation project portfolio management. So we need to explore and identify potential ideas, do the assessment, and that's where we said, yes, we can invest more on this idea or not. It's really healthy to terminate ideas at the right time, or to combine them with some other ideas. It's usually, or I would say it's very rare that one idea as it is generated without any change will go all the way to the implementation. Usually it takes to incubate, to add more things, and that's a collaborative process that takes time. And that's why a lot of the things that I saw in the program that you are studying about leadership, about teamwork and things like that are very, very connected. So this is kind of the flow, and again, I put at the bottom all of those kind of some extra ingredients for the sauce to make it useful. You need to have, again, those clear goals, the staff sponsorship, the processes, and all of those things to make these frameworks work. What is in it for the business? So if I am promoting innovation and doing it seriously, I will create an innovation culture, and I will create an ownership mindset. It's kind of that mindset of a startup within a big organization that sometimes it's harder to create, that sense of urgency, that willingness to push, all of those things. You start creating that trust-team collaboration, because ideas won't grow if you hold them tight just to one person. You need to collaborate with other teams, with other people providing information to make it great. You need you get commitment from the talent. When people is really passionate about something, they get more committed, and innovation gives us an opportunity to nurture that commitment. And you end up with out of the box initiatives that other way won't happen. And as an individual, you develop your personal skills. You are growing. You are changing your mindset. You have the ability to influence either the roadmap about products or technology development, depending on the area of business that you're working at. You have the capability to influence. If you are a part of the process, proposing ideas and taking them through the flow, you get recognition, which is good. And also, if you put together all these frameworks and things like that, you get a platform to implement your ideas and resources to do that if your idea is selected. So you can incubate the idea, and there's a lot of learning on that process. Some practices, really, really, really quick here. I don't know if you have heard about the Google project Aristotle, and basically they made a research of 2 years, about 180 teams, about 37,000 employees, and they were researching what makes a perfect team. And after all the research, they came up with psychological safety. And you will see that this psychological safety, it's really, really connected with innovation. And the reason is because you need to dare to speak up and propose your idea. You need to dare to receive feedback about the idea, and you need an environment where all of that can happen in an appropriate way. So basically, psychological safety, the definition from Amy Edmondson, a sense of confidence that the team will not embarrass, reject, or punish someone for speaking up. It doesn't mean that you won't receive feedback. It doesn't mean that you won't get kind of a different perspective, but it will be in an environment where you won't feel that you are being attacked because of that. You're receiving the feedback because everybody wants to contribute to create something great with you, not to attack you because we want to kill your idea, but how I help you to make it even better. It's already good, but how can we collectively make it better? So it's the perception of physical safety where people can be authentic without a fear of being judged. So you are not getting judged by your idea. You're just getting help to make it better. And the source of this is a LinkedIn study from 2019. And I love the metaphors about diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And this is really relevant, again, to innovate, because you need everybody's ideas to make things better. So diversity, the metaphor is you get invited to the party. So at least you can go. You got the invitation. Inclusion, now you get invited to dance. You are at the party and somebody asks you, hey, let's go and dance. And belonging, you feel comfortable dancing like no one is watching. You can be yourself. You can be authentic. So connecting it with Intel, we have goals for RISE, which is responsible, inclusive, sustainability, enabling. And part of those goals are around diversity and inclusion. So as a company, we know that innovation, it's critical for us to thrive. So we need to really be purposefully investing in inclusion and diversity. And then the belonging takes care, because then it's how diverse is your team, how you put the policies so everybody feels that it's included. And the belonging goes one step beyond as how you build those teams where everybody feels that psychological safety, that they can be, that everybody is there to help each other. So that's part of the secret sauce, I would say. And here, just to finish the presentation, I include some things that as leaders we can do to cultivate intellectual bravery, which is creating that environment where people can feel comfortable expressing their thoughts. So as a leader, we have a lot of responsibility in how our behaviors model the environment. So this is from an article that I will share the name of the article if later on you want to look for it, but it gives you some very to the point advices. The first one, take your finger off the fear button. If people fear your reaction, they want to speak up. And there are even ways in terms of your body language and things like that people might be perceiving as kind of hostile and not wanting to come to share. So as leaders, we need to reflect in terms of how we are behaving to ensure that we are not creating an environment of fear. The other one that it's very useful is assigning dissent. And I saw that as part of your materials, you have also the 6 hats, which is kind of this type of things, right? Because you have a framework to help people. I love those. But this other one is also useful. And in this case, you assign a team member the role to challenge a course of action and find flaws. El abogado del diablo. So you are giving permission for the people to think about what can go wrong with this. And you can rotate that person. So it's not that it's always like, oh, here it comes, it's gonna say why it won't work, but you are really nurturing that, because from that we can learn and do things in a better way. The other one is respond constructively to disruptive ideas and bad news. And I link that or connect that with the fear button. If somebody comes to give me bad news and I react in a negative way, chances are that that person later on won't want to give the bad news. And then you end up working in a team that everybody knows that something won't work and nobody is willing to speak up. And that has happened. There are examples in history of those terrible things happening. Then you have when you reject feedback, explain why and give a little bit of the context. So the person understands why in this case the idea was not considered, and they are willing to continue bring the ideas, because if you start rejecting everything by the fifth time, I bet that it will be harder to have somebody willing to go and take the job and do the job of proposing something. The other one there is wait in last when you hold a position of perceived power. Because if you are the first one giving your opinion or your perspective, people might feel not comfortable saying something totally different. Because the one with more knowledge or with more power already said how it's going to be done. So it's usually good to do it lastly and consider what others have said. And the last one there is a model vulnerability. So if you want the team to be vulnerable, to be willing to ask for help, to be willing to recognize that they don't know something, you need to do it first. Sometimes people are afraid of recognizing that they don't know because they are worried about being retaliated because of that. So if you model vulnerability first, the team gets to know that nobody it needs to know everything. Even if the leader or the boss doesn't know something, it's okay. Now you need to learn, you need to pick it up and stuff like that, but it's not a sin not to know. So that's a little bit of basically what I brought in terms of what we are doing. And don't know, Juan Carlos, if that's good enough to begin the conversation.
Yes, excellent. Thank you for sharing. It's very useful for us. It's completely related with the course and with the topic that we have been discussing, and we are going to talk in future lessons. So it's perfect. Before opening the space for questions, we have another couple of questions. What about conflict? How you manage conflict, because you were talking about psychology safety, and we were talking about psychology safety previous to you enter to the class, but how you manage conflict and what is the role of conflict, talking about this kind of leadership related with innovation?
Sure, that's a great question, and I would say that as a leader, there are a couple of things that are useful to do. First, create that environment of psychological safety, where candor is safe. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have a very open conversation, and that's the way to go from a good idea to a great idea. One quote that I love, it's fall in love with the problem, not with your solution. Mm-hmm. That has helped me a lot, because if I fall in love with my solution, when somebody tells me that it can be done differently, then I feel kind of attacked, because it's my solution and I love it. But if I fall in love with the problem, then how we get to the solution, it's a collective effort, and I can have an idea that can become a better idea with the collaboration of others. So it's kind of creating that environment. There are different, I would say, models about teamwork. The Tugman model, I know that it's kind of an old model that the teams go through different phases from from forming, then they go to storming and all the way to performing. If you have a team where there's no trust, even the simplest job will be really, really hard because everybody will be fighting on how to do that. If you build a team and you create trust, then it's a different story. So in one hand is how you create that environment, how you build a team with people that have different perspectives. And that's where it comes a little bit the topic about kind of diversity, right? And inclusion. Sometimes when hiring people, I can be caught or get caught to the pitfall of hiring people that thinks like me, because that's easier, right? If everybody thinks the same, then there's no conflict because everybody will choose the same path of action. But that won't make a good idea great. Now, you need to define also a framework on how to handle all of those diverse thoughts, because if not, you can end up on a paralysis, right? Everybody has a different way of going and how we are gonna choose. So I think that as a leader, you need to create that environment, nurture that environment, but on the other hand, have a framework in terms of how decisions will be made. And there are different frameworks at Intel. We have one that it's called RAD, where you have the person that are or the team that are recommending the options, then the team that will execute the idea or whatever, and that they need to provide feedback to the recommenders, and then the D, the one who decides. And once the decision is made, we need to march towards that path. So in innovation, there are similar things. You might be creating a new, let's say, for instance, we are developing a new solution, and we are defining the architecture for that solution. So there could be a lot of ideas, recommendations about the technology, the infrastructure, the hardware, all of that. But then there's need to be a point where the decision about the architecture will be made and who will be that decision maker. Because if not, you can end up 1 year discussing architectures. So you need that, in my perspective, you need to combine those two things.
Okay, excellent. And yes, I completely agree. And I have experiences of teams debating or talking about the idea 1.5 years.
Okay, yes.
It's terrible, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's open the space for questions. Who want to